Hey, hello to everyone. This is Dre, Recoveryonedrone here. I started this podcast, video, live stream to hopefully serve a purpose in the drone community. I have been kind of looking around and trying to find out where I can fit in at, and I found a niche, I believe, in trying to do a deep dive into some of the drone rules, regulations, and some of the legislation that is already out, some that is pending, that will impact the drone community as a whole. Today, we're going to talk about FAA and law enforcement. And the reason why I'm touching off this one off the bat is that as with remote ID coming out, new pilots coming on board for the new year, and everything else, I want to make sure people have access to what the real information is. Like anything else in life, if you don't do your own homework, you're liable to run into misinformation. Now, let me take a step back. I know the chat is filling up, and I don't want anybody to feel like I'm ignoring them or anything else, but I don't plan on being on here very long. The show might be no longer than 30 minutes. So forgive me if I don't acknowledge everyone in the chat right away. As I get more fluid with the system I'm using, I'll be able to squeeze in more of the hellos and how you doings out there in the chat. And I appreciate everyone showing up. Okay, so I want to get that out of the way from the start. One of the things we're going to talk about today, like I said before, is law enforcement's role and some of the authority they have, and I will try to help you to navigate those encounters. I have a background and education in law enforcement. I have a degree in criminal justice. Once I served my time with the grunts and special forces units in the Marine Corps, I served as a battalion legal officer for 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines, stationed in 29 Palms. So and after that, I was a police officer for a couple of cities here in the state of California. So during all that time, through my formal education and my actual hands-on experience, I learned more than anything else is how to read the legislation, how to read the rules and guidelines that are in legal terms. Now, what we're going to talk about today, before I even put this up, I'm not going to talk to you about things off the top of my head or what Dre just believes in himself. I'm going to show you documentation from the FAA and how they want people to act, how they want officers to act when they have engagement with individuals out in the field. And you'll be surprised in some of the things that I'm about to tell you. But once again, I don't want you to take my word as gospel. I'm going to show you the documentation straight from the FAA. So like I say, we're going to rock and roll here so I can get a chance to get a deep dive into these different areas. So right the bat, I'm going to go ahead and show you the actual document right here. Okay, come up here for me real quick. My system doesn't want to act right for some reason. So we're going to go ahead and back out here. Here we go. There we go. So you should be seeing this document on your screen right now. And like I said, this comes straight from the FAA. And it does, at the top, you can see right there, it says Drone Law Enforcement Response. And it even has the acronym DRONE. So we're going to take each one of these and I'm going to break it down to you and how this coincides with what an officer does on a regular basis. Okay. And we're going to stop at the top right here, top of the page, where it talks about D, detect all available elements of the situation, attempt to locate and identify individuals operating the drone. And it even gives them hints. Look at windows, balconies, and rooftops where drone pilots may be navigating the drone from those locations. All right. Now, starting with D, this is what an officer normally does when he gets a call for any incident situation, he gets called out, he needs to locate the individuals involved or what the incident is when he first get there. And even if it's a self-initiated stop, which we, officers' language, we would say, hey, I got an arm waiver here flagging me down, put me out this location. Okay, done that hundreds of times. Or you see something that catches your attention. But I would say some 85 to 90% of the time, officers arrive on scene because there has been a call into the 911 system here in America. Wherever your country you may be from, it could be different, okay? But we want to make sure that officers are not just out there hunting for drone operations. That means they'll be driving around in a police unit looking in the sky. And all of us know, who are drone pilots, know you're not going to see a drone in the sky driving around at 40 plus, 30 plus miles per hour. It's just not going to happen, okay? So like I say, the D is the same thing, detect all available elements of the situation. That's what officers always do, okay? That's nothing new for them to do, all right? We'll move on to R, report the incident, okay? To the FAA Regional Operations Center, the ROC, follow-up assistance can be obtained through FAA Enforcement Program LEAP, as I kept trying to hint to people all last year, and LEAP, and they got a little common in special agents. I don't know what the extent of special agents are. It does not give them a lot of great detail in that, but evidently there's going to be someone tasked with that responsibility to be a representative of the FAA in a law enforcement position. Now, there may be any number of people under the Homeland Security Act. It could be somebody from the TSA to somebody who may be the FSO, of your area. That has not been identified this time. I do not foresee myself that the FAA is going to be hiring an actual law enforcement branch. I think they will just initially use what is already in place, so that way they don't have to go through a big hiring process of trying to hire people, train people, and then you got to station these people across the country. Because you got to realize, most of us live in the lower 48 states, but FAA covers all territories of the United States. That means they covered airspace in Hawaii, which we're going to talk about that incident. They cover the airspace in Alaska. They cover the airspace in Guam. They cover the airspace in the Caribbean, under a couple other territorial areas that are under the territorial control of the United States. So there's a lot to think about when you talk about putting a whole element, a new element, a branch of law enforcement agents out in the field just for drone incidents. That's why you have the NTSB, and those are one of the people you may run into while you're out there, because they are the investigators for the FAA. They have their own separate branch, the NTSB. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Observe the UAS and maintain visibility of the device. Look for damage or injured individual, no different than what an officer would do when he comes up on an accident. Okay, you try to identify who's involved. You look at the vehicles. All right, you look for the damage on those vehicles, and you look to care for the injured individuals if it's an accident. No different what a cop always does when he shows up on an accident scene. All right, and it even gives the officer a hint that if there is some activity, drone activity going on, that drone may not come down for at least another 20, 30 minutes because of the life of the batteries that we fly with. Average around 20, 30 minutes. From the old drones to the new drones, or whatever drones you're flying, 20, 30 minutes is about average flight time nowadays. Okay? So we're going to keep moving on here. We were down to N, notice features. And this was going to get a little trickier. Identify the type of device. Is it a fixed wing, multi-rotor copter, the size, the color, the shape, payload, if they understand what that is, what the payload may be. for the copter. Most of them probably won't. A lot of people who fly drones don't understand the terminology of payload, which is basically what kind of camera is on the drone, if it even has a camera on the drone. And that's why I tell people in the FPV community, the officers are being told by the FAA what to look for. Okay, it's going to ask them about the other devices out there, video equipment, and the activity of the drone itself. Okay, no problem there, Dom. Like I say, I'm trying to push this through. Glad you made it. So right there, we got down to that point. So we're going to slide it up to the next level here. We'll go back to the main picture. Okay, E, which is execute appropriate police action. Maintain a safe environment for general public and first responders. Conduct a field interview and all document. Conduct a field interview and document all details of the event per the guidance by FAA. Okay, and this is why I talk about. I tell people certain things. It's not going to be about the altitude you're flying, but about your attitude when engaging an officer. The video of the gentleman in Michigan that Ken Herron had on his show is a classic example. I talked to that individual twice on a website and in the comments section of that video that Ken Herron posted. And with my, law enforcement background, I wanted to understand how he got charged with a felony. And every time I asked that individual the question, he never responded. All he wanted to do, as far as in my opinion, was to tell his side of the story, which is nothing wrong with that. But my experience as a law enforcement officer, and I say, and as supervisor, because I was a sergeant when I got into law enforcement, is that people will tell you just enough information to keep themselves out of trouble. Okay? So I know, but that's why I asked those certain questions of people. What was the actual charge that you were given? And when they don't respond, that lets me know something else occurred besides the fact that you were just flying a drone. Is only one state I have researched, that you can be charged with a felony for just simply flying a drone, and there's circumstances that add into that. And we're going to cover that also while we're here. Okay. Now, I'm going to slide over here down to this list here. Document and provide the following information to the FAA. It says identify operators and witnesses, name, contact information. So when people are out there flying, or when you're out there flying, you don't get the option of not presenting your ID. Okay? Just like, and I use the analogy of driving a car. It is not an option to you to say, if the officer says, can I have your license and registration? You don't get the option of saying no. And believe me, I've been there, done that, and I loved it when I ran to those people who claim to be sovereign citizens. And as I'm dragging them through the windshield or the window of their car to get them out of the vehicle, if they refuse to step out, when they refuse to give me their ID, like I say, you just punch the e-ticket ride. And that's an old school term for the old folks who used to go to Disneyland and they had little books for Disneyland back in the day. And you had tickets that said A, B, C, D, and E. And the e-tickets were the most exciting rides. So once you punch that e-ticket, you don't get the excited ride. And the only problem with that is I'm the only person that gets to shut it off, not you. So right there it tells you, you get to get the information from the operator. You get their name, contact information, and so forth. It tells them type of operation. They're going to ask you, are you hobby? Are you flying for fun? Are you flying for commercially, for money or whatever, representing somebody? And even if you're flying for an agency, they're going to ask you what type of operation is going on here. They have the authority to do that. Just like an officer asks you, is there any legal reason why you're driving above the speed limit? Is there any legal reason why you didn't stop at that stop sign? That was my normal question. Is there a legal justified reason why you did what you did? Okay. So we go on to the next one. Okay. The type of device and registration information. So that's why we like to talk about how you're supposed to have your drone identified. Okay. Now we have the sub 250 category. And then even then, like I say, officer's not going to know the difference if it's a sub 250 or it's above 250 grams. They're going to go by what they need to get. And this is your opportunity to explain to them, hey, officer, I don't have this drone marked as FAA put this out, because this document here came out last August, before remote ID came out and some other rules that are out there today. So this document's been around for a while. This didn't show up in 2024. It came out August of 2023. Okay. So they want to get all the information off your drone, and so be it. And he might ask for at least get the serial number off the drone, which means you may have to pop the battery, whatever, know where your serial number is or anything else. If the drone is registered, like I say, you need to give your registration number off and all this kind of stuff. And if you are a hobbyist flyer, you need to show them your test card, your trust test card. That needs to be added over. Because next one says evidence collected. They tell the officers take photos, take video, and if all need be, confiscate the device. That is given the authority to officers to confiscate the device if necessary. So, like I say, people talk about, well, you have no right to do this and that and everything. I say, oh, yes, they do. They have the direction straight from the FAA to confiscate your device if necessary for evidence. And we all know what's on the controller. The controller is going to have your flight history on there. If you have an SD card in there, or SD card in the drone, that's going to give us video footage of where you actually were and what you were looking at. So all these things come into play for you. Now this last part here I want to go over is right here. Now here, let me back up a little bit. Here in California, we have wobbler codes. And I can say not codes, statutes. I say statutes are not a physical statute, but we call certain laws statutes. Okay. In some states, you have laws of degrees where you have a misdemeanor, a class A, class B, class C, D, F, whatever else, how many you have in your level. Same thing with your felonies. You have a class A felony, class B, class C, whatever the case may be. In California, we also have a thing we call wobbler crimes. And what happens is, it says here, local ordinances that may apply include, but not limited to, reckless endangerment, criminal mischief, voyeurism, which is privacy, inciting violence. That's a real good one there. Now, and I'm going to explain these to you guys for the most part. When we talk about these areas here, as far as a wobbler crime, they can be charged you with a misdemeanor or a felony, depending on the circumstances. And that's why you got to be careful in your attitude engaging with an officer or any type of law enforcement representative or a FAA agent per se. It's going to be your attitude that's going to dictate. And I tell you why. The officer gets the right to report. You don't get the right to report together. He gets the right to report and turn it over to the district attorney. So you may be 100% correct in your operations of flying, if it's in Class G airspace, and you may be flying in a normal manner according to you, but if they interpret your attitude, your actions, and the flight of that drone as reckless, they can charge you with that crime and reckless endangerment. And also, if there is a incident where something got damaged, they can go past reckless endangerment and go straight for the criminal mischief. Now, and I'll tell you how that works. Criminal mischief could be anything as far as loitering, graffiti, uh, and I guess they're putting drone flying in there. Criminal mischief, okay? Because you have caused damage to some type of event, some type of property. You have caused damage if that occurs. Criminal mischief. And basically how they do that is based upon the dollar amount, which used to be in California, used to be just over $401. Now I think it's $901 in California. If the amount of repair or manpower used to correct anything else that you damaged, or whatever the case may be, or you disrupted, just like you disrupt firefighting activities, you disrupt police activities, you can be charged with criminal mischief. And they can add up the manpower of all the equipment, all the people involved there as first responders, and say if that dollar amount exceeds $900, they can charge you with a felony here in California. That threshold may be lower in other states, but here in California, $900. Now I tell you right now, that $900 threshold is not hard to hit when officers make over $100,000 a year. They're making something like 40 something bucks an hour, 50 bucks an hour. So you get 3 or 4 officers out there for about 2 or 3 hours, and they got to stop what they're doing, or you stop firefighters out there using aircraft to do water drops. You have to understand this for the most part. If they got to shut down the airdrops, those airplanes ain't cheap. They can charge you with criminal mischief. All right? So there's the document right there. And I'm going to show you one more document. All right? I'm going to show you this other one here. And people always talk about what you are responsible for, what you're not responsible for. This is also straight from the FAA. Okay? This is part of operations over people, all that kind of good stuff. And when the part that people don't read is right down here. Okay? Document Presentation Amendment Part 107 of Year 107 Pilot, effective April 21st, 2021. So this goes back a couple years. The rule requires remote pilots to present their remote pilot certificate and photo ID. Because we all know there's no picture on your Part 107 cert card. So you have to present your Part 107 card and your photo ID to anybody, to any office, law enforcement official. And it even goes there, like I told you before, they talk about requests from administrator, a authorized representative of the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB. Remember I said it earlier? Any federal, state, or local law enforcement officer, and any authorized representative of the Transportation Safety Administration, TSA. Like I told you, these are the individuals you may encounter in your area. Okay? And then it goes down for all recreational flyers must pass an aeronautical knowledge test, which we know is the trust test. So no matter if you're flying FPV, sub 250s, or whatever you're flying out there, fixed wing or whatever, if they ask you for ID or whatever, you got to show them that trust card and your ID for the most part. So that's what I'm saying, that, you know, I've heard recently about some of the things here that I'm telling you, and I know some people don't like it, but I have to explain to everybody, just like operating a motor vehicle on the highway, it is not a right. It is a privilege to drive. Now, I know people say there is in the Constitution where it says you have the right to go from state to state to state, and that is true because that is for the purpose of commerce. Okay? For your own pleasure of driving, you get a license from the state that you live in, and it's considered a privilege for you to drive in that state. And the reason for that is because you operate negligently, illegally, they can always suspend, revoke, your license. So it's not a right, it's a privilege. And that is the way the FAA views people flying in national airspace. It is a privilege to fly in the national airspace. Airlines do not just be able to take off and land at airports just because they want to start airlines. Okay, they have to submit documents and product documents, pay fees and everything else, because it is a privilege to fly in national airspace. And at whatever level you fly at, if it be from a commercial aircraft, manned aircraft, down to a drone pilot, you have to be obedient and compliant to whatever the rules and regulations set forth by the FAA. Do I agree with all the rules and regulations? No, I do not. But I do have to comply with them to go out and fly. No different than me driving my car down the road. Do I always believe that the speed limit is appropriate for where I'm driving? No, but I have to comply. Because when somebody comes up behind me with red and blue lights flashing behind me, I will have to suffer the consequences by not complying. And like I said before, this is not just Dre talking. I showed you documents straight from the FAA. And that's what I'm trying to show folks. You need to do a little homework of your own and be able to realize what your responsibilities are when you're out there. The last couple of videos and shorts I put out has been about you are responsible as the pilot. So you need to fly responsible as the pilot. And that's one of the key things you need to look at. Now, I'm going to get off my soapbox a little bit and disengage you guys on some things. So the next time, if someone comes up of a lawful legal representation, you need to always check your attitude at the door before you engage them. I used to love it when people tell me that old story, my taxes pay my salary. And my response to them was, good, because today you're getting your full service of your tax dollars. So I say, please press hard, 3 copies. So I want to make sure I get your signature on this ticket. And that's how I used to roll back in my days, 40 years ago. I want to thank you guys for being here today. I told you I will not keep you long. I don't want to go no more than half an hour. Next month, we're going to pick up another topic. As far as 2 things I'm going to do for next month's show. We're going to cover how brokers or middlemen, what their business model is, because I hear the complaints. I've been hearing it for years about the cost of I say the lack of payment or lack of sufficient payment for drone services. And I always tell people it all depends what you bring to the table, what equipment you have to get the job done with, and so forth. That, you are not the sole pilot anymore. That in other words, you're not the only game in town. All right. But when you used to be the only guy in your city that had a drone to do some drone work, now you got 2 or 3 guys in your own block who fly drones. And out of those 2 or 3 guys, there's probably 2 of you who are trying to make money with that drone. Okay, so in other words, you're no longer the big fish in the pool. Competition and stuff comes into play, which means like anything else. I always tell folks, when you go out and buy a car, what do? You shop around for the best price, best deal you can get. These companies are doing the same thing. They're shopping around to get the best price they can get. So you got to ask yourself, what do you bring to the table to secure that job and also secure the amount of money that you feel you deserve to have for the work you do? All right. So you need to understand that it's a business on both sides. As you're trying to operate a business, they are operating a business. The second thing I plan on doing, the second thing that I plan on talking about, I'm going to cover drone laws and regulations in each state at the end of my segment coming up in the next month. We're going to start off with the state of Florida in February, and we're going to move on to different states that have, which I've researched, have some quite significant drone rules and regulations that many do not understand or even know, even if they live in that state. So this is one way. You got to be informed about what's going on in your area so you don't get caught up. And it's not always about the airspace. I feel most pilots today, those who've been flying for a couple of years, I should say, understand airspace and what Class G is and what's controlled airspace is and so on and so forth. But there are a lot of locations, a lot of states, a lot of counties, and some cities who are putting laws in the books and their municipal codes to stop takeoff and landings. So like I say, this is Dre, Recoveryonedrones. I want to thank you for coming to the last call. I hope someone takes this to heart. I hope someone learns something and understand that we as the pilots that are out there need to understand what we can and can't do while we're out there flying. And when we encounter someone of an official nature, how we should conduct ourselves and not seem like someone's out to get you. And I say, let me just cover this one bit. If you want to take away the narrative of what's going on between you and the officer, when he first asks you for ID, you present both your IDs. You show him your authorization if you're flying in controlled airspace, or you had it printed out, you show him that, and then you show him whatever else documents, who even hired you. That takes away the inquiry part of the officer's encounter, because you presented that, so you give him something to go look at and go verify. Then from there, you've already proven yourself as being qualified, knowledgeable, and authorized to be flying where you're at. So this is Dre, Recoveryonedrones. See you guys next month, last Sunday of February, for the last call. Thank you.
I want to I need to tell you. I want to Unless you talking numbers, we ain't speaking about the right things. Switch up on my nigga for a figure, that's not like me. Baddie with a body in the lobby, she like nice things. She used to know me then, she like me now, that's funny timing. Eyes been on that prize, I cop that cribbo for that timepiece. I'm trying to see the globe and sell out shows until the flight leave. They wanna ride my ties, but they ain't even ride or die, please. But I've been short on time and in the prime of my prime easy. I said I never changed and leveled up, I guess I lied, yeah. Off that straight up potent just to feel like I'm alive, yeah. Mix that with that potion just to feel like I'm that guy, yeah. So know the one you talking to, you way outside your line, yeah. Go against the tribe, you lose your... Let me not even say this. I just ran out of my places. I just got tired of waiting and got here myself. Want me to believe in the dream that they see for themselves but still doubt in themselves. They might as well light up the L. High top on 10 toe, drip retro, talking major plays. Shawty on 10, finna go up. Bring that to the crib, let me show love. Flex up. I'ma make plays, I'ma go long. Never look back so long. I need a bag. Flex up. I need a tag, yeah. Shawty on 10, finna go up. Bring that to the crib, let me show love. Hey, come from the pit, I'm out of the trench.